Hi everyone, my name is Melissa and I am presenting to you today my population level health education intervention project for Cal State San Marcos Nursing 447, and it is on educating seniors on nutrition and hypertension. It takes place in the community of Escondido, California. That is in San Diego County. So, for health related issues in seniors in this area are access to healthy food, poverty, hypertension, and social support. As a background to this, the population in Escondido that is over the age of 65 is 10.5%. And reviewing the housing demographics of the city, it shows that 9.3% of the population is men or women 65 years and older living alone in a household. This comes from the Centers for Disease Control. So that shows that nearly the entire population, older population in Escondido lives alone. And it can be difficult to cook for oneself already, but as we get older, it becomes a little bit more difficult as your energy reduces, and especially coming from hypertension, as this ranked 6 out of the top 8 primary diagnoses in this area. Hypertension is one of the leading causes of cardiovascular disease, which affects your cardiac output. Cardiac output reduced affects your energy levels. And there are a high number of fast food restaurants in this community. Eating poorly does lead to hypertension, bad nutrition, all that kind of stuff. And then as an extra, 17.7% of the population is determined to be below poverty level. This also affects your access to healthy foods. And it's a barrier to getting proper, well-balanced nutrition. People may lean more towards unhealthy food choices that are high in fat and salt. Here are the Healthy People 2020 guidelines. Well, they guided me to these objectives for my project. By the end of the presentation, I wanted 2/3 of the group to be able to name one nutrition-related change that happens as you get older, name a nutrient to increase in diet and one to reduce, one consequence of an unhealthy diet, identify one resource other than the senior center for which to get home meals, transportation, or weekend meals. That last one is not to take away from that community center or take away people from that community center. It's mainly just because that senior center is only open Monday through Friday from 8 to 3 in the afternoon. So that leaves a lot of open time, dinner times, and weekends that these seniors, if that's the only place they know, they're not having access to healthy food choices. And then on the hypertension front, I was hoping that 2/3 of the group would be able to name the American Heart Association consideration for hypertension. That is 130/90 is considered hypertension, that and above. Name 2 ways to keep the heart healthy, 3 symptoms of heart attack, and have a positive takeaway from the class. Hopefully feel like they learned something. As far as needs assessment, I determined what was needed by reviewing the U.S. Census Bureau, which gave me demographic information of that population. I did a windshield survey that gave me an objective view of the community, just driving around and observing what was going on in that community, how people were getting around, what types of housing there was, and any sort of issues that I noticed just with my eye. The Escondido Senior Center gave me information on what type of seniors they get and problems they come across. Kaiser Foundation Community Needs Assessment. They do research on the types of individuals that come in to the clinics and things like that, what types of health issues they are seeing the most. And then just members of the community from the first time that I went to the senior center, talking to people about any barriers they have or issues they have along these lines of getting nutrition, how they eat, things like that. And as far as theoretical framework We use the pre-seed, proceed model to guide the project. This model helps to organize and plan out the whole project, thinking from the desired result. So you start from what you want to accomplish, and then you work your way backwards how you're going to get there. It organizes it into categories, the things that need to be completed and how they could be done. And then you're pre-thinking issues that could come up and barriers and how to overcome them should they arrive. Then if you determine how you will evaluate your outcome, which is one of the processes of the framework, if you know how you're going to evaluate your outcome, you have a better idea of the points you need to hit and how to drive them through. The issues I came across in this project, one of them was just time, just coordinating with the senior center. They serve hundreds of seniors, and they do have volunteers. They are senior volunteers who, whenever I spoke with them, they reverted me to administration. So mostly the senior volunteers were there for the seniors, and anytime I needed information or just any sort of guidance, or if I needed approval for something, I had to go through administration, who was very busy. And then just communication with the senior center. I communicated mostly through email, which also took a few days in between each communication reach out to get back to. So sometimes I had to send little reminders, hopefully not bugging too much. But they were very helpful. They were very open to having someone come into their center. They really work with the community well. They rely on their community to do things like this. But especially to help their seniors directly by transporting and providing the meal service. And then just during the project, attention and concentration. They have so many great things going on in that center. They have like a pool table room. They have coffee time. They have all kinds of stuff going on. So to sit down and listen to a nutrition topic or one about their health, maybe not the most exciting all the time. They probably could just do that at their doctor, if they're going to their doctor. And then just as far as resources in the future, if this project was to move forward, resources that would be helpful would be the nursing schools in the community. Perhaps they could help the seniors with, they need clinical time, they need community service time. So helping them with any of those needs, like if they can help volunteer to bring meal services or work with the serving community to give the meals or plan the events for socialization and things like that, that could help also. And then another issue actually that I did run into was that family was not at the community center. So along the lines of attention and concentration, if they have family there to just help them so that they can support them along the way, that would be helpful for them to do that. As my intervention, I used these 3 flyers. They just guideline. The first one is for nutrition guidelines, things that seniors need to get more of, things to get less of, making sure to point out to consult with the doctor regarding any chronic health problems, because I wouldn't want to steer them in an unhealthy diet choice that may be healthy for many individuals but not healthy for a certain chronic condition. And then the what's for dinner is giving those resources of other places that they can go to when the senior center is closed. And these resources not only have meals, but they also have transportation to get the seniors around or to bring the meals to them. They have certain resources like they have meetings to provide support for different conditions, all kinds of things. It's all aimed at helping the seniors with issues that might arise and advocating for them. And then the last one is high blood pressure, hypertension. A major risk factor is eating poorly or not maintaining your weight. So that goes along the lines of nutrition. I thought it would fit nicely, and especially because it is such a high problem in that area and in the United States in general. So I taught it by bringing it. I had small groups of people, 2 to 5 maybe, that I spoke with individually as they were just having their downtime, and spoke to them about it was just very free. It wasn't structured, just asking them opening questions about what they do when they're not at the senior center, and what kind of foods they eat. If they know about hypertension, and if they know about heart attacks and how to prevent them, things like that. And then I asked them questions at the end and evaluated. So it's just it was very free and unstructured. As far as the budget, this is a very low budget project. The monetary needs are low from the planner's end. The community center needs to be financially cognizant because they are actually providing the foods. They do accept donations from the seniors, who generally do give some sort of donation between like $2 and $5, but that's not required, so not all of them do. And then they rely mainly on volunteers who transport the seniors around or transport the food to the seniors, and also provide the meal service, cook the foods, things like that. Community involvement is just so huge in making this successful. So it's a low budget project, so as long as it has the volunteer support, it's good to go. And evaluation and outcome, the ones with the check marks, here are my goals that I had. The ones with the check marks are the ones that were accomplished. So my main barrier there, why they don't all have check marks, is the ones without the check marks are the ones that are just require a little bit more, I wouldn't say memory, but just grasp to take it all in, take all the information in and hold on to it. It's a little bit more challenging to remember, say, like a specific nutrition related change that happens as you get older. Most people were just saying like, they felt they ate fine, or they didn't really know about any. So they were relating on their own personal experiences rather than what I had said. It was fairly easy for them to name a nutrient to increase in diet, one to reduce. Mostly they knew to increase like certain vitamins, and then to reduce fats is what everyone said. Not many people said salt. And then naming a consequence of an unhealthy diet, most people just said obesity, or they would say high blood pressure because I had talked about it. The resources other than the senior center to get home meals, transportation, all that stuff, harder to remember the names of those resources. However, that's why I did have those flyers to put up around. And because it was a low budget project, in retrospect, with time and all that stuff, I probably, if this project went on, could reach out, or if there was more time available, reach out to those resources to get, I'm sure they have like magnets, some sort of fridge item or flyer or something that they would be happy to provide for those seniors, so that they could remember the number 211, for instance, for the Senior Resource Center. And then as far as hypertension, harder to remember that number. Most people think 120 over 80 is good, and anything above that is bad. 2 ways to keep the heart healthy, good to go, exercise, things like that. That was fairly easy. 3 symptoms of heart attack. Mainly people just think of chest pain. They don't think of much else unless they've experienced that or had someone close to them experience that. And then most people did say they had a positive takeaway from the class, felt they learned something. So hopefully that is true. So as the outcome, let's see, results and conclusions. The project taught me just to remind, reteach. We all know that just reiterating or just providing, maybe teach back method so that they can tell you what they learned and just keep reminding. So that would take a little bit longer of time to help just make it stick, making it interesting, because the concentration and attention, they're used to be having their bingo and their social time and all that. Perhaps it would be beneficial to do maybe like a learning bingo or like a learning Jeopardy, some sort of interactive game in a larger group instead of doing the smaller, just casual groups. Make it interesting with a game in the future and provide some sort of incentive, like a little knick-knack or some sort of treasure, something like that, that they could take out of it. Providing tangible information was helpful, maybe a little bit more, such as what I mentioned with getting magnets for the fridge from those organizations, things like that. Communicate well to get the full involvement. Just continuing to work on that communication. I think it just takes probably a little bit more rapport with that community center or with any sort of center that you're working with, perhaps like with more time, providing actual time, like providing a commitment to maybe drive seniors for a certain amount of months, or to serve meals on a certain day of the week for a certain amount of weeks, things like that. So then you're building rapport over time. You're not just coming in saying, hey, I want to do this for my school and for the seniors, and then just be gone afterwards. To provide some sort of future and furthered commitment would perhaps help with that rapport and help with the mutual beneficiation there. And then thinking outside the box, everything I just mentioned, such as the games and the providing the mutual commitment, the mutual just commitment and everything like that, the mutual beneficiation, that might be helpful also. So here are my references for this project, from where I got the demographic information, things like that. And then I have a separate reference page. These are the ones from slide 8 for the educational materials. Those flyers that you saw that I passed out came from these references right here. So I hope you enjoyed the project and the presentation, and hopefully you learned something from it as well, and have a fantastic day.